Aloha everyone. Thank you so much for making it back to my channel. My name is Nathie, and this topic of discussion is neuroplasticity and how it relates to your yoga practice. So, did you know that the brain evolves over time throughout your entire life, even as you age and you get older? And contrary to the popular belief or misconception that the brain stops developing, it doesn't. The brain function might decline as you age, but your brain always will have the capacity, the ability to regenerate itself, its cells and its neurological connections, shaping, reforming, sculpting the shape inside of the brain. And when you develop a consistent practice, whatever practice that may be, but especially a breathing practice, a practice of mind-body connection, of moving your body and feeling all of the awareness in your body, the more your brain will transform itself and develop into these different connections where you feel and think about yourself and the world in a different way. And so once you start exposing yourself to new ways of doing things, new ways of moving yourself, the more your brain will adapt in a different way. It's like the more you give energy and attention to something, the more you're going to go into that direction. The less you do of something, the less it'll appear. And so, same thing with all of our thoughts. The more you give energy to certain thoughts, certain energies, the more it will become your reality. And if you give it less attention and shift yourself into a different direction in your thought patterns, in your movements, in your way of doing things in your life, then things will shift for you in the brain, with your nerve cells. And so the way I'd like to frame it is yoga practice gives you new ways to think, to be with yourself. And so you can hold yourself accountable for transforming your own brain and your body and your mind-body connection. You become your own master of your healing, of your self-development, and you become more aware. You develop a deeper awareness of how you are thinking, of your relationship with yourself and the external, and what you'd like to invite and what you'd like to keep away. So yoga practice targets your reasoning, your thinking, your memory, your judgment, proprioception. It really does a number of things for you. And if you're consistent with that on a daily basis, then over time your brain, it will change physically. So let's dive a little bit into the definition of neuroplasticity. It's in the word neuro, so neurons, plasticity. So it really is about the ability of the nervous system to rewire in response to different stimuli and reorganizing itself in its structure and function. So whatever it is that you're doing, it can help your brain change. So if we think that just thinking differently will do anything, it won't necessarily do anything. It's more what you do and in a consistent way, and what exactly you do with yourself in that consistent way. I was taking some notes, and there's a few things that I wanted to mention, and that is about the integration of your yoga practice to progressively create change inside of you. And so yoga practice allows us to cultivate inner attention and awareness. But it's not just about proprioception. It's not just about that initial awareness. It's also about interoception, which is basically the attention to fluctuating states of body awareness. And so you can become more aware of the subtle changes over time with yourself, even though you have been taught that your body is the same, it's one thing, nothing's going to change that. The truth is, we can all be going through periods in our lives of anxiety, of depression. We might have gone through very traumatic experiences in our lives and had gone through trauma earlier in our childhood. But through all these things, our relationship with ourselves and how we live our lives can change. And it gives a little bit of hope and understanding of just how transformative our life is with every experience, with every consistent practice that we bring awareness to with ourselves. So I think that it's very important for people to understand just how amazing it is that our brains can change throughout our entire lives with our practices. And so over time, with that exposure, with that consistent exposure and subtle awareness over time of our own awareness and changes, we can expand that not only to the individual, but to social construct, to societal change, and understanding how that can come into play with our relationships with other people, in our workplace, in our other different environments we're exposed to over time. And everybody can hold that within themselves and completely change a community over time. And so I feel like the idea of neuroplasticity is much more in depth than we give it credit recently, and I feel like it's important to open up this discussion, and I'm very curious to know what your understanding of it is and what you've known so far in your yogic practice in your life about neuroplasticity, and how you feel that maybe your practice has influenced you in deeper ways, transforming the outlook on life and cultivating a different relationship with yourself in your life. So you can drop a comment below or let me know if you have any other references or anything that might have come to light for you. And I look forward to hearing from you. Aloha. So here's a little exercise I'd like to give all of you, and you can choose to try it out or share it with other people or share this video. But every day for the next month, at least 3 times a day, let's just say morning, midday, evening, ask yourself the question, how do I feel right now? How do I feel right now? In my body, in my emotions, in my mind, in my heart. Am I hungry? Am I sad? Am I excited? How do I feel truly deep inside? And notice how much it might be changing throughout the day, every time you ask yourself that question. And ask yourself it more than 3 times. Maybe try asking this question to yourself 4, 5, 6 times a day and see how it changes. How am I feeling? Once you ask yourself these questions, some of the answers might pop up. Try not to be judgmental or alarmed, but to be more accepting and inviting of those feelings that are coming up. How are you feeling? Maybe jot them down in a journal. Just take note and become more aware of how you feel in those moments, in every moment.